Some people have come across an intriguing 1775 Bible that appears to challenge widely accepted ideas about time, calendars, and how days and months were once arranged. Within its pages is a statement that March used to be considered the first month of the year, with Sunday recognized as day one of the week. These claims contrast sharply with today's standard practice of starting the year in January and generally viewing Monday as the week's opening. More surprising still is the suggestion that communities once adhered to a calendar featuring 13 months, closely mirroring the rhythms of the moon. Modern society has mostly lost track of these details, leaving behind a sense of curiosity about what might have been altered or set aside over the centuries. This sense that something is amiss may arise whenever the calendar calls for the start of a new year in January, during the cold or dormant seasons in many parts of the world. Traditionally, new beginnings were often celebrated at the onset of spring, when blossoms appear, wildlife reemerges, and the environment feels alive again. Today's arrangement can leave some people questioning why the official start of the year does not match nature's moment of renewal. Older texts, such as that 1775 Bible, point toward a time when March marked the true start, aligning celebrations with warmer days and emerging life. The idea that Sunday was once the first day of the week also fits a pattern in certain religious or cultural traditions, where the sun represented a powerful symbol of beginnings rather than an afterthought. Some accounts even hint that 13 evenly measured months, each spanning about 28 days, would better harmonize with the lunar cycle, which has approximately 13 full moons per solar year. Modern culture has grown used to months of irregular lengths, 28, 29, 30, or 31 days, and for many this hodgepodge of lengths has become normal. Yet the possibility of a neat 13-month cycle suggests a design that may have once tracked lunar phases more precisely, granting regularity and synchrony with celestial movements. The suggestion that certain authorities in the past might have dismissed or phased out this system for economic, political, or religious unity invites deeper questions about how far-reaching these calendar reforms have been. Some traditions around the world, including certain older Hindu practices, have recognized that time is more than just a practical device. Instead, it can be a reflection of cosmic cycles, a conversation between human activity and the natural environment. Through studying solstices, equinoxes, and lunar phases, some ancient peoples devised ceremonies and rituals connected to the patterns they observed in the sky. Changes in governance or empires, however, often introduced updated calendars that matched political aims, commerce, or a unifying agenda. While these reforms might have seemed logical at the time, they inevitably reshaped how entire populations experienced the passing of months and the arrival of significant occasions. The 1775 Bible is merely one thread in this tapestry. It stands as a curious artifact that references an older interpretation of month names and weekly cycles, nudging readers to ask whether the modern approach to time is the only valid one. March, presently labeled as the third month, was once recognized by many as the true first month, a more intuitive choice in regions where the winter ice was melting and flower buds were appearing. The week similarly took on a different flavor, with Sunday as the first day and Saturday as the culminating seventh, each day slotting into a pattern that was considered divinely or cosmically inspired. Seeing Sunday as the first day transforms daily life, placing a bright solar symbol at the week's beginning instead of installing it at the end. Some people wonder if societies that use these approaches felt more spiritually anchored. A number of older festivals, for instance, closely match the arrival of spring, the height of summer, the harvest period, and the darkest days of winter, making them feel linked to nature. By matching festival dates to seasonal rhythms, these gatherings held deep meaning, guiding agricultural tasks and social rites of passage. Over time, as administrations or religious authorities overhauled the calendar, they also altered how holidays were observed, sometimes transferring the old celebratory spirit onto new dates. That is why some traditions known for equinox or solstice celebrations found themselves in a culture that now celebrates at other times, leaving modern participants feeling a subtle disconnection from the Earth's cycles. The question arises, why does any of this matter? and how does it affect a person living in the present day? One can notice how often New Year resolutions lose their momentum by mid-February. In some climates, January's freezing grip dampens the sense of renewal that a new year is supposed to embody. Meanwhile, by late March or early April, warm breezes and the first sprigs of green can awaken real optimism and energy. This mismatch between daily life and official counting may be an overlooked factor contributing to the sense of going against the grain. Restoring the year's start to March might feel more resonant, grounding one's personal transitions or goal setting in the season of obvious natural rebirth. There is also the matter of Sunday's place in the week. In many cultures, Sunday is now a rest day, capping the end of the work cycle. Yet older systems identified Sunday as day one, which suggests a new orientation for the flow of tasks and reflection. Placing Sunday at the front can symbolically heighten the notion of fresh starts. By the time a person reaches Saturday, the cycle completes with rest and reflection before the next round. It is a subtle but significant shift in perspective, potentially altering how people approach work, leisure, and personal well-being. The concept of 13 months likewise piques interest. The standard Western year is divided into 12 months, a structure inherited and refined through Roman and medieval reforms. But if the moon completes 13 cycles in a solar year, an equal number of 28-day stretches would allow each month to match a lunar phase. This alignment might create a harmony that fosters greater awareness of how celestial movements affect energy and moods. Some older accounts from various parts of the world, including certain indigenous groups, indicate that time was once measured by moons, with each moon signifying a phase of growth or rest, culminating in 13 cycles per year. The present cultural unease with the number 13 may be a residue of the era when the 13-month approach was dismantled, leaving behind a notion that 13 is somehow unlucky. A more nature-focused approach to time is not necessarily about rejecting modern life. Technology, work demands, and global schedules are not going anywhere. However, some people may choose to blend official calendars with a parallel personal rhythm. This could mean privately celebrating personal renewal in spring, marking a personal new year exactly when the environment starts to bloom. It could also mean watching the moon's progression over 28 days to note surges or declines in creativity, energy, and social interaction. Doing so can be as simple as keeping a small moon journal or planning gatherings when the moon is full and the sky is bright. Critics might argue that the modern arrangement of months and weeks has proven perfectly functional and that implementing an older system would only cause confusion. It is true that everyday business relies on stable dates, yet the conversation does not necessarily involve discarding the current system altogether. Instead, it is about recognizing that the structure of time has undergone multiple reforms throughout history, many of which were motivated by religious or imperial needs. The compelling detail is that these decisions were not purely about astronomical accuracy. They were also about creating unity, exerting control, and setting an official narrative that shaped how populations lived and thought. An additional layer is the question of power. There is a certain authority that comes from deciding when celebrations happen, when the year begins, and which days belong to rest or worship. Some observers note that shifting communal focus can unify people under a single banner, but it can also distance them from long-standing natural rhythms that feed the spirit. By forgetting that the new year might once have been in March, for instance, entire populations can become less connected to the actual motions of the seasons, living on a clock that suits institutions rather than the land underfoot. The lingering result might be that many feel a slight emptiness or confusion, wondering why some official celebrations do not match how the world outside the window is actually changing. This is one reason the 1775 Bible is viewed by some as more than a curiosity. It serves as a door to reevaluating the timeline, revealing that the official narrative of months and weeks is neither eternal nor universal. March does not have to be the third month, Sunday does not have to be day 7, and the number 13 need not be feared. Each of these points offers a puzzle piece, hinting at older ways of living and understanding reality. Shifting back to that approach might, for some people, foster a deeper sense of belonging to the cycles that govern plants, animals, and the human body's natural rhythms. In modern times, some have decided to quietly reclaim these ideas, at least on a personal or household level. Perhaps they see spring as their natural reset and plan gatherings or personal rituals that emphasize rebirth during that season. Others track the moon's phases and try to rest more under certain lunar alignments while pursuing creative tasks when the moon is waxing. It is not about rigid rules, but about learning to notice how nature might offer guidance. Communities that rely on the land, such as small farms or those with homesteading practices, sometimes rediscover that the best schedule is already written in seed catalogs, weather patterns, and the returning birds at dawn. Ultimately, the notion of a lost or altered calendar is both a historical lesson and an invitation for the present. The 1775 Bible, with its references to March as month one and Sunday as day one, draws attention to the reality that time is not fixed by any universal truth. Rather, it is a collective agreement that can be and has been rewritten throughout history. Many older cultures, from certain steppe communities to some in the Americas or in parts of Asia, once measured time in a way that danced closely with the moon and the earth. Today's society can integrate that knowledge in various ways, by adopting minor personal changes, by forming groups that synchronize events to natural cycles, or simply by maintaining awareness that the formal calendar is a human invention rather than a cosmic law. The key message is that time can be approached in multiple ways. Governments and older empires set the rules that populations mostly follow, but the deeper rhythms of life have not changed. Trees still bloom in spring, creatures still sense the lengthening or shortening of days, and the moon's phases continue as they have for millennia. Choosing to celebrate those patterns or incorporate them into daily life can reconnect some people with a sense of harmony and peace. Clues like the ones in that 1775 Bible reveal that alternatives exist, hinting that centuries ago, humans might have dwelled in a more flowing partnership with nature's own timing. Whether a person decides to embrace spring as a personal new year, track a 13-moon cycle for private reflection, or simply recognize Sunday as a new weekly dawn, the central point is that time is far more flexible than official calendars may suggest. Such a realization can awaken wonder, curiosity, and a renewed focus on living in balance with the natural world.